Hey guys, I'm T and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, we make trendy and fun crochet tutorials twice a week. And if you haven't already, smash that like button, drop a comment below, and subscribe to join in on the fun. Today I'll be teaching how to make a classic peplum top. Part peplum, part baby doll. All adorable is the best way to describe this easy to make top. So if you're in the market for some simple cuteness, this one's for you. Or if you're looking for something else, we've got you covered too. We've got hundreds of the cutest, trendiest, most modern crochet patterns you'll find, with many more coming on the way, so consider clicking the bell to subscribe and you'll never miss an upload. Also, do me a huge favor and give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, or 2 thumbs down if you don't. Either way, it's a great way to show support so I can keep putting out free tutorials every Wednesday and Sunday. Now it's time to get on the show, so without further ado, for this project, any category 4 yarn will work, but I used a total of 300 grams of yarn, and that's 450 yards if you're stateside. As for tools, a 5mm hook, scissors, stitch markers, and a tape measure. There is a written pattern down below. Use offer code TCDDIY for a discount off any $9.99 plus order. And enter this week's pattern giveaway by telling us your favorite instant noodles. Love Shin and Mama is the best, but I'd have to go with the classics, so Top Ramen. Details for the giveaway down below. We're using 3 stitches for this project, and they'll be as follows. Chain, slip stitch, single crochet, and half double crochet. This tutorial is for size small, but you can adjust it for your size, and we explain how to in the video, so let's get started. Getting this top started, we're all going to grab our category 4 yarn and make a slip knot. Next, we're all going to grab our 5mm hook and get started with our waistband. So start off by making a chain the height that we'd like for our waistband to be. I'd like for mine to be just about 1 inch or 2 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 6. Now that we have our chain, we're going to be doing a slip stitch row. So start by blocking off that last chain and do a chain 1. That chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And then insert your hook into that chain that we blocked off, or the second chain from our hook. I like to work within the back bumps, but it's not necessary. We're just going to insert, yarn over, and gently pull through both of those loops. Let's do this again. Into that next chain, insert your hook, yarn over, and gently pull through everything, and that's it. Continue to put 1 slip stitch into every chain, keeping in mind not to tug too tightly after every stitch, otherwise the following row could be too tight to work into. Our first row is finished. Now let's get started on row 2. Chain 1, still doesn't count as a stitch, and flip our work. Now they're going to be back loop slip stitches. Find the last stitch from our previous row, insert your hook in through that back loop, or the loop that's furthest away from us, yarn over, and then gently pull through both. That is our back loop slip stitch. Let's do another in through that following stitch's back loop, insert your hook, pull through everything. Continue to put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch. Now after every row, all we're going to do is chain 1, flip our work, and put 1 back loop slip stitch into every stitch again. We're going to continue to repeat this row until we get a waistband that can stretch, keeping in mind to stretch it, because it does have a decent amount of stretch to it, over the widest part of our bust, making sure that we end on an even number of rows. When we have that, I will meet you back. The length of my waistband is all finished. I have a total of 96 rows, and my length is 17.5 inches or 45 centimeters unstretched. Now we're going to seam it together. So placing the 2 edges on top of each other, making sure that our work isn't twisted, insert your hook into the corner stitch. We're going to yarn over, pull through everything on our hook, and now we're going to do an outside loop slip stitch seam to make it look like just another slip stitch row. So finding that first stitch into our front panel, insert your hook in through that front loop, finding the next stitch into our back panel, inserting in through that back loop, and when we have those 3 loops on our hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Let's do this again. Into that next stitch into the front panel, insert your hook. Next stitch into the back panel, insert your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Now that our waistband is finished, we're going to get started on the top half of our piece. So right after our seam, we're going to chain 1 and single crochet across the top of our waistband. We're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every side row. This is my first side row right here. I'm going to find that top loop and insert my hook. If you'd like to weave in your tail ends as you go, just place your tail end on top of your hook and then single crochet per usual. There's our first single crochet. Let's do the next side row. This is my next side row, which is this raised row. I'm going to find that top loop, insert my hook into there, making sure that I'm still placing my tail end on top of my hook because I would like to weave in my tail ends as I go. I'm going to single crochet. And that's it. Let's just do one more set. This is my following side row, which is this divot, into that top loop with a single. This is my following side row, which is a raised row, into that top loop with a single. Continue to do this, making our way all the way around. And a quick tip, we should end up with the same amount of single crochets as rows that we made for our waistband. Our single crochet row is nearly finished. To close off this row, we're going to slip stitch into that chain space. So when we started off this row, we did a chain 1 and then did our first single crochet. We're going to find that chain 1, insert your hook in through there, yarn over, pull through everything, and that finishes up our first row. A few quick tips before we move on is that our work will start to curve just like how mine is, and that's completely normal. It'll all even out once when it's worn. And then also you might just want to try this on because this single crochet row is going to be as wide as this can stretch. So if yours is a little bit too tight, go ahead and redo some stitches with a looser grip. But if yours fits fine, we're going to get started on our row 2. And what we're going to do from here is chain 1, and then making sure that we're working in the same direction that we were previously working in, we're going to do a single crochet row. So just 1 single crochet into every stitch. Find the first stitch from our previous row, insert your hook in through there with a single crochet. Let's do just one more. Into that following stitch, insert your hook with a single crochet. Continue to put 1 single crochet into every stitch and then slip stitch into that chain space. Our row 2 is finished. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our row 2. So right after our slip stitch, just chain 1 and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch until we get the height of the first half of the body portion that we'd like. So this portion is going to be the main piece that covers our chest. So if you'd like to cover a little bit more, add more rows, or if you'd like to show a little bit more, add fewer rows. And this portion won't have any increases or decreases, so continue on with this portion until you have your height that you'd like, and then I'll meet you back so we can get started on our cups. The height of the body portion of my top half is all finished. I have a total of 10 single crochet rows. This height is about 2 inches or 5 centimeters, or my total height is 3.5 inches or 9 centimeters. From here, we're going to start working on our cups. So right after my last row, I did do a chain up of 1 and cut. Next, we're going to need to insert our stitch markers into some places so that we figure out where our cups are going to be. Now, the first 2 stitches that we're going to be inserting are going to be our 2 middle stitches, and we should all have 2 since we did an even number of slip stitch rows. So counting from my tail end along the back, I counted out my 2 middle stitches that I had. Since I had a total of 96 single crochets, my halfway point is going to be my 48th and my 49th stitch. So I inserted my stitch markers into there. That's going to be the center. And now we're going to need to find the outside of our cups as well. So making sure that we're starting with counting from one of our middle stitches all the way until our tail end is reached, we're going to find that middle stitch. This should have 2 middle stitches as well, but we're going to start counting from our middle stitch and making sure that we have an even number of stitches. So since I had a total of 48 stitches from my tail end to my middle stitch, my 1 middle stitch that I inserted my stitch marker into is into my 24th stitch away from my middle stitch marker stitch. and I did that along the other side as well. Now this is going to be the width of your cup. This is the middle point, but if you would like for your cup to cover a little bit more, so a little bit closer to your underarm, go ahead and add more stitches if you would like. Just make sure that it ends on an even number. Getting started on our cup, we are going to insert our hook into the outside stitch marker that we have. We are going to insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now we're going to start with a decrease of 2 single crochets. So we're all going to start by inserting our hook into that same stitch that our chain 1 is in. Insert your hook in through there. If you want to weave in your tail ends as you go, just place your tail end over your hook. Then we're going to yarn over and pull through for 2 loops on our hook. And then we're going to insert our hook into that following stitch as well. Yarn over, pull through, and when we have those 3 loops, we're going to yarn over and pull through all 3. That is our decrease of 2. From here, we're going to be putting 1 single crochet into every stitch, working towards our middle stitch marker, leaving the last 2 stitches. So I've just made my way down with my single crochets, and the 2 stitches that we should have available is that stitch right before that stitch marker stitch, and then that following stitch, which is the stitch with our stitch marker. Now we're going to do a decrease, so insert your hook into that following stitch, pull through, and then into that last stitch, which should be our stitch marker stitch, insert, pull through. When we have those 3 loops, yarn over, pull through all 3. And that is how we do our decrease again. Now we're only going to be decreasing into every other row. So from here, chain 1 and flip your work. Make your way all the way down, putting 1 single crochet into every stitch. We're at the end of our row, so chain 1 and flip your work. And we're going to start and end this row with a decrease of 2 single crochets. So just as a refresher, insert your hook into the last stitch from our previous row, pull through into that following stitch, pull through all 3, and then put 1 single crochet into every stitch, leaving the last 2. And now that we have 2 stitches left, we're going to do a decrease again. So into that last back loop, pull through, into that last back loop, pull through all 3, and then a single crochet row with no increases and no decreases. So chain 1, flip your work. From here, we're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we have 2 stitches in our last row, making sure that we end on an odd number row. And then I will meet you back so that we can work on the strap. I am back, and the height of my cup is finished. I have a total of 2 stitches left, and now we're going to make a chain that reaches all the way up and over our shoulder to the back panel. But right before we get started, we're going to need to insert our stitch marker right where we want our strap to connect. So this can be completely up to you. If you want yours closer to the seam, insert your stitch marker there, or further out. That's completely up to you as well. I want mine to be centered with the cup, so I inserted my stitch marker into the 9th stitch from where my tail end is, and I just eyeballed it. And from here, we're going to make that chain. I need a total of 9 inches or 23 centimeters, so I'm going to start by making a chain of 45. I have my chain, and I am now going to insert it into my stitch marker within the back. I'm going to make sure that it's not twisted as best as I can, and then into that stitch marker stitch, I'm going to insert my hook, yarn over, and pull through everything on our hook. Now from here, we're going to single crochet our way back just to make it nice and sturdy, but this next part is going to be a little bit different for everyone. So we should have a total of 2 stitches left on the last row for our cup. Now if you're looking at your cup, making sure that your work is flipped right side out, we should have 1 available stitch. Now it may be a little bit different. Your available stitch may be to the left like mine, or to the right. Your next slip stitch is going to depend on where your available stitch is. So since mine is on the left, into my back panel, I'm going to slip stitch into that following stitch, going to the left for me. If yours is on the right, insert your hook into the right. So just insert your hook in through your next stitch with a slip stitch. That doesn't count as a stitch, we just needed to work our way up to the next row. Flip our work, and then put 1 single crochet into every chain. Our single crochet row along our chain is finished, and now we're going to slip stitch it into that available stitch into the top of our cup. So let's flip our work over. So the first thing we need to do is make sure that our work isn't twisted, and then we should be along the same side as our available stitch. So just insert your hook into that available stitch, yarn over, pull through everything, yarn over, pull through, and then do a chain up of one and cut. And then our first cup and our strap is finished. And now that we have this strap finished, we're going to repeat everything on the other side. So same cup, same strap, do a chain up of one and cut, and then I'll meet you back so we can get started on the peplum. So both cups and straps are all finished up, so let's get started on the bottom. Making sure that our work is flipped right side out, right side up, we're going to insert our hook into any one of the side rows along the bottom of our waistband. Insert our yarn onto our hook, pull through, do a chain up of one to secure. We're going to do a single crochet row, putting one single crochet into every side slip stitch row. Start by finding our first side row. This raised one is mine. I'm going to find that top loop and single crochet. Find our following side row, which is this divot. Insert your hook into that top loop and single crochet. Continue to put one single crochet into every side row and then slip stitch into that chain space. Our single crochet row is finished. Now we're going to make a chain the length that we'd like for our peplum to be. Now we can make this as long or as short as we'd like. I'd like for mine to reach just about the top of my jeans. So I'm going to start by making a chain of 25, and that's 5 inches or 13 centimeters. Now that we have our chain, we're going to half double crochet our way down. Block off that last chain and do a chain 2. That doesn't count as a stitch, that's our turning chain. And to do a half double crochet, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that third chain from our hook or into that chain that we blocked off. So insert in through that chain, yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through all 3. Let's do this again. Yarn over, into that following chain, pull through all 3. Continue to put one half double crochet into every chain. And now that we've put one half double crochet into every chain, we're going to need to connect it into the base. So we're going to need to find that first available stitch into the base and insert your hook in through there with a slip stitch. So insert, pull through both loops on our hook, and that's how we connect our first row. And that isn't going to count as a stitch, that's just to connect it. And we do need to work our way up to the following row. So slip stitch into that following stitch into the base with a slip stitch. That also doesn't count as a stitch, we just need to work our way up to the following row and flip our work. From here, we will be putting one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. So yarn over, finding the last stitch from our previous row, insert into that back loop, and then half double crochet per usual. Continue to put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. At the end of the row, chain 2, flip our work, and put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch, making our way back down. I'll meet you back at the base. We've worked our way down with our third row, and now we're just going to connect it into the base together once more. So how we're going to get the nice ruffle for this peplum portion is that once we connect our odd number row into the base, we're actually going to be inserting it into the same stitch that our previous row was worked into. So the stitch that we're going to be working into is going to be occupied. So this is the stitch that my previous row was worked into. You guys can pretty much tell. Insert your hook in through there and pull through everything, same way that we connected the other row. And then to work our way up to the following row, find that next available stitch into the base, slip stitch into there, and flip your work. And then from there, continue to put one back loop half double crochet into every stitch. We're going to continue to repeat our 2 previous rows until we don't have any more stitches into the base left to work into. When we don't, I will meet you back to seam everything together. I've made my way all the way around with my back loop half double crochet rows and my peplum portions all finished. The last thing we're going to have to do is seam it all together. So make sure that our work is flipped wrong side out. We're going to insert our hook into the corner stitch of both the front and the back panel. Pull through, do a chain up of 1 to secure. Now this is going to be a single crochet seam, so let's do the first one. Find the first stitch from the front panel, insert your hook in through there. First stitch into the back panel, insert your hook in through there, and then single crochet. Let's do another. Next stitch into the front panel, next stitch into the back panel, and then single crochet. And we're going to continue to do this until we don't have any more stitches left to work into. Then do a chain up of 1 and cut. And that is it. Our top is all finished. Last thing we're going to have to do is weave in all of our ends. And there you have it. Hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Join us on Instagram, Pinterest, or Twitter. All of those links are down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Catch you on the next one. Bye!